the TSMA, Tri-State Manufacturing Alliance 101. Again, my name is Tina Fuhrer with the Southwest Indiana Chamber. We're going to let a few more people get logged on here, give it a few more minutes. And then I'll go through introductions. Again, if you're just joining us, please put your name and contact information in the chat, group chat. If you don't know where that is, there's a bubble at the bottom of your screen. Click on that chat box and type it in. And then we're going to get into some introductions. We've got our chair, Matthew Nix, here, and I can't wait to introduce him. And then we've got Dorothy Pergola, who is our TSMA, Tri-State Manufacturing Alliance Coordinator. We've also got a few staff that make this possible on as well, who's Vicki, who's running the ship. Thank you, Vicki, very much. And then our chamber engagement manager, Rachel Herr, is on the call as well. So it's going to be a great Zoom morning. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, Tina Fuhrer with the Southwest Indiana Chamber. And with the Chamber, we have several different alliances. And one of these alliances that we're going to focus on this morning is the Tri-State Manufacturers Alliance. So this is a fantastic alliance geared toward that industry of manufacturers, service providers, and vendors. And with us today is Matthew Nix. So Matthew Nix is our chair for the Tri-State Manufacturing Alliance. And this is actually his second year, so he hasn't run away, which is a wonderful thing. So we're glad to have him 2 years in. And Matthew Nix is with Nix Companies. And just a little bit of background. So Nix Companies is a 100-year company. It's an amazing company. We can't wait to hear about it. He's been TSMA chair for 2 years now. And he's also a previous recipient of our Young Professional of the Year. So he was a Chamber Young Professional of the Year. Thank you, Matthew, for stepping up in that young leadership role. And obviously you're doing great things, and we can't wait to hear from you. And also he works with his wife, Lindsay, and in addition to the Manufacturers Alliance, he's also a very big part of our Family Business Alliance. So lots of opportunities within the Chamber, but today we're going to focus on the Manufacturers Alliance. So I'd also like to introduce Dorothy Pergola. Dorothy Pergola is our Tri-State Manufacturing Alliance Coordinator. So she is the coordinator between our chamber and our alliance, and she works with our steering committee to make sure that these events are focused on the things that manufacturers and their service providers need to hear. And again, thank you for joining us this morning. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Matthew and Dorothy. So welcome. And if you could, again, please put your phone or your computer on mute.
Thanks, Tina.
Hey, Matthew.
Hey, Dorothy. Well, I'll just point out I'm just starting my second year as the chair, and when I agreed to do this, it was a 1-year commitment. So I don't know if that means I'm doing a good job or if I'm really a sucker.
Good job. Really a good job.
Dorothy does all the real work. So no, it's an honor to be with you guys this morning, and I'll be really brief. We've all had enough of these Zoom meetings lately, so I'm glad that a few people are interested to learn a little bit more about TSMA and how it might be able to impact their organization. So I'll turn it over to Dorothy.
So Matthew, I think would it be really helpful for people to understand just a little bit about your company and the scope, how many people you have working with you, and just if they're not familiar with Nix Companies, give them an idea of what your organization's about.
Sure. Yeah, I think we're probably one of the smaller size organization members, or maybe at least within the steering committee, we're on the smaller spectrum. So I guess first thing I would say is you don't have to be a big company. I mean, people think a lot of the big name organizations in town that are members, and we're so glad that they're members. They really help drive the organization forward. But we've got about 100 team members today. We're a contract manufacturer and specialty industrial contractor. My great-great-grandfather started it in 1902, and So honored to be fifth generation leader of the business alongside my brother. What's kind of interesting is when I tell people we've been around that long, they assume that, we're 100 employees today. They assume we inherited, a somewhat status quo business, but that's not the case at all. When I joined the business, it was my dad, my grandpa, and my aunt and I. And my brother and I have taken it from mom and pop business to about 100 team members, so give or take. And we're a little bit like a long-time family business and a little bit like a startup. So I tell people it's like the best of both worlds, but that comes with a lot of growing pains, a lot of learning. And TSMA has really helped us and been a catalyst for that. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about, how it's helped us along our journey.
So Matthew, what would you say some of the benefits are? I mean, this is a great place for you to talk about them. What are some of the things that, since you've been participating, I know you go to the events, I know you send your people to the events, the peer groups and everything else. What do you think what have you gotten out of it?
Yeah, of course, the quarterly speakers, that's our main staple events that a lot of people know about. We have the big quarterly, prior to COVID, they were big quarterly events, and now we had a great turnout on our virtual event last quarter. But we have world-class speakers that come in that you would have to spend thousands of dollars to send your team to conferences to hear these. Art Brine was with us last year. He's like the godfather of lean. He's won a bunch of awards and wrote books on lean. And I was able to pick him up from the airport and have a beer with him and pick his brain one-on-one. That was really neat. I would have never had the opportunity to do that. I mean, if you know anything about lean manufacturing, he's like, a hero. So people like that, we've had people from the state of Indiana come in and talk about developing apprenticeship programs and things of that nature, able to build face-to-face connections with those people and try to leverage that. We've had local leaders. That's really cool. We have local leaders come in and talk about how they've utilized best practices within the organization. So the big quarterly events, that's certainly a big part of it. And there's also peer groups. So those are smaller groups that usually meet quarterly. We've been real active in that. Our CFO is involved in the CFO peer group. One of our operations leaders is in equipment reliability and maintenance peer group. One of our ops leaders is in the lean peer group. So try to engage in those groups. And then shared learning is another component. That's something we started a while back. Dave Connor with Anchor was instrumental in driving that forward. So we've got some of the local colleges and universities are working with us. And then also a lot of several organizations, Jasper Engines, Cook Companies, and Alcoa have all opened up their internal training. So if let's just say they have 10 seats in one of their internal training programs and 2 or 3 of those are available, they've opened that up to other members to sit in on their training, oftentimes free of charge or at very minimal cost. So we've utilized some of that where, for a small company like us to build out all that training would be very time consuming and costly. So we've sent people to Jasper Engines and to Alcoa to sit in on training. And actually Alcoa even sent one of their lean gurus out here to help us institute the practice of doing observation. And they did that for us free of charge. I mean, it was sort of like a big brother, little brother type mentorship relationship. So these things wouldn't happen without time. So those are some of the main buckets of the value adds that TSMA has.
And I do think that that's one of the areas, the shared learning is one of the areas that I think we struggle to get people to really understand what it is. And they don't understand that, whenever you do go to Jasper Engines or Cook Enterprises or Alcoa, and Anchor even does it occasionally, those are free. There's not a lot of seats, but it is a free opportunity. And as Matthew was saying, I mean, the benefit from that, sitting in on somebody else's training is just, well, that just doesn't happen. But it's all to the nature.
And hats off to those organizations too for opening up and doing that. Yeah, it's amazing how little people, how little resistance we've got from people about being really closed off and not sharing ideas with other. That's happened a little bit, but it's pretty rare. And I hate that for those folks that feel that way. I mean, I get if there's proprietary stuff, obviously you can't talk about that, but we're talking about, basic manufacturing principles and leadership principles, and a rising tide lifts all ships. So if we can all share and make each other stronger here in the tri-state, it's just going to be better for everybody.
Thanks, Matthew. So let's talk a little bit about, this is a new world. What are you going to be doing in the future what are some things that maybe you feel like we could probably do a little bit different, a little bit better at Nix Companies in regard to your membership with TSMA?
Well, yeah, one of them, just jumping back to peer groups, we've been talking about our executive committee, and Dorothy, we've been talking about a future leaders peer group to try to engage. We have a lot of senior leadership involved, or sort of upper middle management involved in the peer groups. We'd like to engage that middle management or frontline leadership roles in a peer group where they can be surrounded with other folks that are in, a similar place on their journey. And they're going to be different topics they're talking about. But a couple things. One, we can, so as far as us, we will have someone involved in that peer group once we can get that up and rolling. We're really kind of waiting for some more interest for that. But that's going to help these business leaders, and it's also going to be the next generation of TSMA leadership, I'm hopeful. So that's something we're excited about. As far as what else we're going to do, I'd like to open our shop floor back up for a best practice tour. We've done one since we started with TSMA. Hoping to do another one of those in the near future. That's where we bring a small group, usually 10 to 20 people through, and we talk about a specific process or a specific best practice. That can be in a classroom setting or on the shop floor. So we've got some cool things we're working on. We're doing some digital communication. We're a decentralized business. We've got 5 locations, so they're all pretty small. So we're working on how do we make it all feel like one business. So we're working on some digital communication systems and things of that nature that I'm excited to share with some folks when we get the opportunity.
Since we mentioned COVID, so we haven't been together. We haven't been able to do the networking that we would have normally wanted to do. We've had to cancel a few events and take a few events virtual. Have you been able to engage? Do you think that the TSMA has tried to engage its members in other ways, and what do you think that has helped or not? That was a really bad question. Let's try that again. What do you think about the engagement since COVID happened?
Well, we've certainly been trying. No, we had a good Q2 event virtually. So we're still chugging along. The newsletter, that's been, well, I'll just say media in general. Dorothy knows that's been, I guess every chairperson kind of has their thing, and media has been my thing. I think we have been and still a little bit are behind the times on social media and we've done a great job and Chanda's leading marketing efforts at the chamber and really helped us trying to move our media efforts forward. A big part of that's our newsletter. We've got an awesome newsletter that the staff works really hard on putting out, and there's good resources in there, and local companies are sharing best practices, little articles. We're talking 3 to 4 paragraphs about best practices they're working on. I know a while back Jasper Engines had one in there about end of day standard work, and we actually took that out of that article and implemented it right here. I mean, so we didn't have to go anywhere. All we had to do was read the newsletter. So the newsletter is one. And then the last thing, I think, it's just when you get involved in an organization like this, you build a network of people. And during times like what we just went through, that network is invaluable, where you can pick up the phone and call somebody up and ask them how they're dealing with a certain circumstance. So I've leaned on my TSMA network during this time.
And my final question for you, Matthew, is so we have some people here who are newer members, some people maybe who are in new roles that haven't really been engaged in TSMA. We're hoping that through this conversation, they're going to be more engaged, but what's some advice that you would give to a new member or someone who's just, you know, coming up to the idea that, yeah, I do want to be more involved? What was some advice that you would give them?
The thing I always tell people is you're going to get out of it whatever you put into it. So if you just write the $250 check and that's all you do, you're not going to get much out of it. It's going to be a pretty good waste of $250. But if you engage and you go to the events and you do the things I just talked about with, you know, promoting it with your staff internally, and you know, when we go to events, not only do we go, when we come back, we debrief those. So we'll have a lunch, just grab some Subway sandwiches or whatever, and we'll all get around the table together, and then we'll go around the room and everybody will share one of their takeaways was. We want everybody to have one takeaway that they can actually go back to work and implement like right away. Going to these things is great, but if you don't just take one thing and go to work and implement it, it's just a kind of a little feel-good session. So that's something practical, and that I think that idea we took away from, I think it was Anchor who was doing that debrief session, and took that from them. So just getting engaged in the peer groups, going to the events, shared learning. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Anything that you'd like to add?
No, nothing specifically. I just I'm surprised sometimes that the amount of people in the manufacturing community that still aren't aware of all the value that this organization brings. I mean, there's not a lot of organizations like this around the Midwest. It's really a gem that we have. So I want more people to take advantage of it. It's just been, if I try to put a dollar figure to the value we've got out of it, I couldn't begin to do that. I mean, it's 6 or 7 figures. We're talking about $250 a year. So, I mean, it's just really a no-brainer. But again, you gotta get engaged.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Appreciate your time, and certainly appreciate your leadership for the last 2 years, or for the last year and this coming up year. So thank you for all that you do for the Chamber. We really do appreciate it. And we have an event coming up August 26th, which is Look in the Mirror. It's with Jamie Parker, who, her story is she was part of FedEx and they were on a lean journey, but she had to really look at herself and see what she was doing that was either taking that forward or holding her back. And that's what she's going to talk with us about on August 26th. That is at the Tropicana. If you're not registered, you still time to do that. It is virtual as well. So if you want to register but can't attend, you'll be able to watch it via Zoom. She'll also talk a little bit about how she's working with Anchor, a local company that she's working with to help them really take their lean practices up to a higher level. And we do have some peer groups that are still meeting in September. One is the CFO. The CFO peer group is for anyone in an organization that has financial reporting responsibility. You must be a TSMA member, and they really do kind of hold that group very tight. They are looking for someone that can really help them, and they can help. That is also a CE credit available, so that's good to know. And then we have a lean peer group coming up as well. So we don't have anything right yet for equipment reliability and maintenance, but we're going to keep working on trying to do that for people. That's all I have. It's a pleasure to be the coordinator for this group. I will honestly say that I have never had an opportunity to work with people like the steering committee. They really do just think of how they can help elevate the manufacturers group. They're so giving of their time and their ideas and what can make other companies prosper. They know the value of elevating manufacturing in this industry, in this area, and they give a lot of time and effort. So, and I think you see that with the programming that we bring to you. So if you have any questions, you can always contact me or Tina. Our contact information is on the screen.
I did want to bring one thing up. Matthew, you brought it up earlier, and the fact that this is such a gem for our manufacturers. And there are a few people on this call or on this Zoom that are vendors or service providers. And I think that the connection here also is an opportunity for them to share with their clients, their manufacturing clients, the fact that they could be a part of this. And what a huge resource that makes them when they listen in and they participate with some of these events and learn about some of these lean practices from those gurus, and then are able to tell their clients, hey, why aren't you a part of this? You know, so again, to encourage them, some of our vendors or service providers that are on this call, to get your clients engaged, let us help them and become that resource. So, I mean, you know, I'm sure you've utilized and you've probably heard things from different vendors, right? And service providers too. So I just wanted to, you know, acknowledge that there's a few people in this call that are from that portion of the industry as well.
Yep.
Would you have anything to add on that, or ways that they could maybe engage with some of their clients or invite them, encourage them?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, again, Tina Fuhr with the Southwest Indiana Chamber. You guys, thanks so much for joining on this call. Manufacturing Alliance is this very strong alliance with more than 120 members, Dorothy, is that right, Matthew? So very strong alliance. They have quarterly meetings, peer groups, shared learning. Their mission, again, is to support the manufacturers and their service providers and vendors. They are truly a gem in this tri-state. So if you need more information, please reach out to myself or Dorothy. If you're not already part of this manufacturing alliance, please reach out to us so we can have a better detailed conversation in regards to it. And any other questions, we'd like to open it up if anyone has any questions. Even if it's about the next event, that's okay too.
While we're waiting on questions, I just want one last plug here. Make sure you like TSMA on LinkedIn. I think we're on, Dorothy, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, so I know we're there. I don't know what other platforms we're on.
We also use Twitter.
But it's SWIN Chamber. You'll have to say it. It's not
It's
just
Tri-State. Yeah, it's Tri-State Manufacturers Alliance on LinkedIn.
Okay.
We have it.
At the very least, I was just going to say, if you see the post, you know, please like those, share those. We're trying to build our social media presence, so we'd appreciate your help.
Yeah.
You go to our website. If you go to the Southwest Indiana Chamber website and you go to the TSMA page, you should be able to find the information, because the names are, you know how LinkedIn is. The names are a little bit long for that, but the information is there. Also,
you can refer to our website at any time at swinchamber.com, and there is a manufacturing alliance page that actually lists all of the steering committee, like Matthew Nix and several others that lead this amazing alliance. And then you can also see the participants and the different manufacturing members. So great contact information, a good resource. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Dorothy, anything else to add?
Nothing. I hope to see you register for the August 26th event.
Yes. Well, thank you, everybody. Anything else, Matthew, before we bid farewell? Oh, we have a question, Jim? No, just a thumbs up. All right.
Yeah.
Nope, I don't have anything.
I'll just say real quickly, we've been a member a lot of years, and I kind of stepped away as founder and CEO to allow more of our team members, as Matthew is alluding to, get involved in some of these peer groups. And I know Mike Elliott was involved for a while in the CFO group, peer group, and I know is connected with the guys at Anchor. So I think this, for me, getting on this call today, and Matthew and I have talked, we're pretty close, and I'm a customer of Matthew's as well. And, just talking about getting involved and getting your people involved. And we're always talking about bringing mid-level management to a higher level. And that's why they joined our group years ago. And it's our duty to kind of plug them into, excuse me, different tools that mean a whole lot. And to Matthew's point, excellent point, is the takeaways you get. I mean, a lot of times I would show up and, you know, you're always thinking, gee, I don't have time. And all of a sudden you walk away with 2 or 3 points that are pretty awesome you can take back to your group. So I can second all that he's saying. And this is kind of a re-engagement for me personally. And then we've kind of shuffled the deck here at EnviroPlast. We've had a chief operations officer leave the company, and we've basically elevated our plant manager to that position. And he's doing a great job. He's kind of reshuffling his deck with his team, and I'd like to try to get him involved and you know, also get some of his team members plugged into the groups and things like that. So anyway, I can't say enough about the group. I think it's awesome. And I've been detached for quite some time. I do a lot of traveling, so it's not always easy for me to be in town for some of the meetings during the week, but maybe with this, you know, I'm not sure how it's going to go from here going forward, but you know, oftentimes if a Zoom option is available, even with a face-to-face meeting, I could probably try to tap in at least for a period of that time. So I appreciate all that information.
Thanks, Jim.
No problem.
All right, do we have any other questions? Let's see, Jess has asked, are most participants upper management of the member companies, or does it tend to change each year?
That's a great question. It's very diverse. I should have mentioned that. At our quarterly events, I mean, we have from frontline leadership all the way to the C-level at these events. And obviously it depends on the topic. But like our lean topic, which is usually our big quarterly event, we do one big lean event each year, which that's the one that's getting ready to come up here, which we are going to Jim's point, we're going to do that both in person and virtually. That might be the platform we use on a go forward. But that will be a wide range of the org chart that participates that. So don't ever hesitate to encourage that.
I would also add that it's the lean and the leadership where we will see 20, 30, 50 people from one company participating. That's why those events are so big, because it speaks to every level.
Is there a limit? Like, I know as we try to plug, from a personnel standpoint, we're very close to Matthew's size as far as, you know, employees, and, you know, a lot of our folks are pretty technical. So is there a limit to the number of folks you can send to a particular event, or if you're a member, or no?
As a member, and you are a corporate member because you are a manufacturer. As a corporate member of TSMA, you can send as many people as you want to an event. Now, our associate members, which would be more the people that serve manufacturers, since we're allowing our corporate members to send as many as they want, we have to hold our associate members to three people that they can send. But for EnviroPlast could send as many people as they want. We just ask that you register early. Okay.
Very good.
It's a good test day, Jim, to see how few people you can operate your plant with.
That's right. That's right. Or who wants to learn and get better, right? That's the other side of the test. So that's right.
And Jim,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would mention too, if you need, you know, we know the struggle of communicating with everybody in an organization. I have a limited number of emails that I can send out to people. One of the things that the steering committee will have me do is send a PDF of an event so that they can post that or put it somewhere. And if you ever wanted to do that, or somebody wanted to do that, You know, we're looking for ways that we can really help our members make sure that their employees are seeing the information. And if it's not via social media, if it's not email, if it is, you know, the board on the break room, then, you know, we want to help you do that by giving you the tools that you need. You just have to let me know.
Okay. Yeah, that might be good for us. You know, I'm not sure. I need to talk to our team here and find out how we'd like to, you know, to Matthew's point, we do have to keep the lines running and things like that. So if we give everybody an excuse to head out, it's going to be a problem. But yeah, that might be really good, you know, and if nothing else, maybe get involved in another way. Maybe we rotate or something that, you know, something along those lines. And if we can share the information that is communicated at the meetings or in a lean event or something like that, it's, you know, part of our challenge is if we have some takeaways, you know, how do you implement that? I'm in another CEO group, and they always caution you to be very careful about how you force your takeaways onto your people, because you can put a choke on them where it's too much information or they don't understand the approach. And then if you're not behind it 100%, it's kind of the flavor of the week. It becomes the flavor of the week. And they're like, Stratman's been to a TSMA meeting again and he's all fired up, but nothing's ever going to happen, you know? So you kind of have to be careful about that kind of stuff, I realize, but maybe there's suggestions. You know, I'm interested to talk to Matthew too about, you know, how he has implemented some of those takeaways he's had and make something of it, you know? So that's for another day, Matthew.
We do have another question. So they're asking if Dorothy and Matthew, if you guys would encourage vendor and service providers to attend these events and what they might get out of them being from a non-manufacturing industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dorothy kind of hit on this earlier, but sure, happy to have you all there. You know, of course, you're going to be, you know, building your professional network just like all of us are. But I think good service providers have a better understanding of what their customers are dealing with. So that's the biggest thing. I mean, if you're going to serve the manufacturing industry, the more you understand about the challenges and things that we're working through as manufacturers, the better job that you can do of that. Matter of fact, we've got Shannon with Harding and Szymanski. Shannon Brewer. She's actually on our steering committee. They've done a fantastic job. I mean, I think they're the model for how, as a service provider, how you engage and add value. I mean, through all the COVID stuff, I mean, they added tremendous value. I actually wrote a little piece in the newsletter about this, but because they truly had a better understanding of from the front lines of what their customers were dealing with and how they could add value. So sure.
I would add to that, for if nothing else, I've never been in manufacturing. My father was a steel laborer when I was very, very, very young. I don't have a manufacturing background, but just attending the events and hearing what people were saying and what they're talking about. You know, I have had associate members say things to me, and you know, when I mention lean, they would say, well, you know, encouraging them to come to a lean meeting. And they would say something like, well, you know, this is what we do. We don't need to be lean. That's not the right answer. When you're working with a group of manufacturers who that's the world to them. They strive to that level of lean practice that really drives their business. To say that you're going to try to provide them with services and you don't even know what that is, that's probably not the right attitude to take. And I think these events really show you really quickly what's important to them. And then you can make that the way you sell to them or the way that you try to service their company. Anybody else have any questions, Tina?
I don't see any. There were some comments about being appreciative that there is a virtual option as well for those that travel, to Jim's point. And it might even give an opportunity so that they don't have to come off the line, or, you know, it could be set up in a break room or something like that. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute and speak up or put it in the chat. We are just discussing the benefits of being part of the Tri-State Manufacturing and just recapping that with everyone on the call here. And there are some that are Manufacturer Alliance members right now. So if you have anything you'd like to add of ways that you've taken advantage or your takeaways, we appreciate that too. So I don't see anything else unless there is something you would like to add, Matthew, or I know there's a few people that jumped on a little bit later if they have anything to add or any questions. For Matthew or Dorothy, please speak up.
No, just feel free to, I think my contact info is in there. Feel free to email me with anything, any questions, anything I can do to help in any way. More than happy to just talk shop. So thanks for having me on, Tina and Dorothy.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And don't forget to register for the August 26th event. It is the Q3 event. It is both in person and virtual. So there is an opportunity to have an in-person face-to-face. And that is going to feature Jamie Parker, and she is going to cover finding the path to sustainable improvement. So great topic. And again, thank you for joining us. Tina Fuhr with the Southwest Indiana Chamber. And this has been TSMA, Tri-State Manufacturing Alliance 101. Thanks again, everybody.